Sunday school teacher, I appreciate you joining us for a time of preparation and study. I'm Tim Smith with Sunday School University, and we're going to be working on the lesson for Sunday, January 16th. Now, we're going to stay in Ezekiel, but we're going to go back several chapters. And the reason that we're doing this is that this is a very important day in the life of your church and Southern Baptist. This is the Sanctity of Life Day. Many years ago, Southern Baptists voted to make this Sunday, in every Sunday school literature that we publish, for us to have a Sanctity of Life lesson. It really goes back to when Ronald Reagan was president and issued the first declaration of a Sanctity of Life Day. And so we're here and we're going to have a Sanctity of Life study. So the title of this lesson is Values. We're going to be in Ezekiel chapter 16 and chapter 23 in Ezekiel. And we're going to look and also conclude in Psalm 39. Title of the lesson is God Values All Human Life. Now, I've got in your notes some important things for us to remember. The first thing is you will have people in your group that have had an abortion or they know someone who has had one. And we need to be sensitive to that. We do not want to make those who have had an abortion or have been part of an abortion because of a family member, we don't want to paint them as second-class Christians, okay? So we need to be sensitive and not be mean-spirited in what we do. We need to be reminded that there is still great pain and remorse for those who have made that decision. I know that we see on TV, the media tries to paint it as, celebrating someone who's had an abortion. But the truth is there's great pain and there's great remorse there. There is even guilt. And sometimes the only way for people to express that guilt and remorse and that pain that they're feeling because of that bad decision that they made last week or years ago, if they've never dealt with it correctly, is through anger and bitterness. And we need to understand that. And also you need to be reminded that there's probably somebody in your group that thinks that abortion is okay. And our responsibility is not to point our finger at them and snub our nose at them and condemn them. Our responsibility is to teach the truth and engage them in that truth. So, there will be others. Maybe you're sitting there going, oh my goodness, I teach a senior adult class. Why in the world do I need to teach a lesson about abortion? Ain't none of us going to get an abortion. Well, I just want to say this to you as a senior adult teacher. You're the folks that need to be teaching our young people the truth of God's Word. You're the ones that need to be standing up and proclaiming the truth of God's Word. You need to know this stuff, and you need to teach this to your senior adult class. So let's jump into it. Ezekiel chapter 16, verses 20 through 21, and there we see wrongdoing is justified. Chapter 16, verse 20 says, you even took your sons and daughters you bore to me and sacrificed them to these images as food. Wasn't your prostitution enough? You slaughtered my children and gave them up when you passed through the fire to the images. These verses here in verse 20 through child sacrifice, God's people blatantly broke their covenant with Him. In Psalm 127 verse 3 reminds us that children are a gift of God. So how bad was it in Jerusalem? Well, it was so bad that they were offering their children, killing their children in worship of these false idols. It talks about here in verse 20 about them, it says, and sacrificed them to these images as food. That's important for us to understand that. They allowed their children to be consumed by these false gods. And so not only were they killing them as a sacrifice to these gods, but they were also